Greetings, my beloved friend. In the vast journey of life, being chosen by God holds profound significance and an awe-inspiring blessing. It is a designation that comes with a sacred purpose, setting the chosen individual apart on a path filled with divine intention and spiritual discovery. Yet, alongside this incredible privilege, there arise unique challenges, often more profound and testing than any ordinary experience. When chosen by God, one is gifted with an extraordinary depth of His love and a sense of calling that feels almost otherworldly. This calling marks a path that only a few can fully understand. A path illuminated by divine light, yet also shadowed by trials that test the soul. Especially in the realm of relationships, those who walk this chosen path are often faced with relational difficulties not because they're doing something wrong, but rather as a testament to the unique mission God has placed upon them. These trials serve as a profound signpost, indicating the significance of the path they're destined to walk. The enemy, aware of the power, potential, and influence carried by the chosen, often seeks to create discord and misunderstanding. Especially within one's closest relationships, it is not uncommon for those chosen by God to feel a sense of alienation, a feeling of being misunderstood, even by those they hold closest in their hearts. God's calling invites chosen ones to live differently, to embrace a lifestyle and perspective shaped by heavenly wisdom rather than worldly conventions. This alignment with divine principles often creates a profound separation from typical ways of thinking, setting the chosen apart in ways that can feel isolating. Friends, family, romantic partners, and even colleagues may struggle to comprehend this divergence, leading to friction in various relationships. For the chosen, there exists a priority on faith, prayer, spiritual growth, and moral integrity over worldly pleasures and ambitions. To those who do not share this perspective, the chosen's priorities may seem foreign, impractical, or even self-righteous, fostering a gap that can sometimes feel impassable. But it is essential to remember that this isolation is not a punishment, rather, it is part of the divine refinement process. God's presence is constant, an unwavering force that guides, comforts, and sustains, especially during times of relational discord. In these moments of solitude, chosen ones are drawn closer to God, leaning into His love and promises, finding solace in the knowledge that His purpose and plans are always unfolding. Even in times of relational turmoil, through these challenges, God works behind the scenes, using each difficulty as a tool to refine the chosen one's character, to strengthen their resilience, and to deepen their capacity for love. In conflict, chosen ones are called to be steadfast in their faith, embodying patience, grace, and peace. While the misunderstandings and judgments of others may be painful, these trials provide an opportunity to grow, to love unconditionally, and to become a living testament of God's peace. When others fail to understand or embrace the chosen one's devotion to God, it is a reminder that not everyone is ready to share in this journey. And that is okay. God is continually working within every relationship, seen and unseen, often preparing hearts and aligning circumstances in ways we may not perceive. He promises to protect, to guide, and to lead His chosen ones through every storm, offering comfort and strength in times of loneliness. In these moments of struggle, chosen ones must cling to the assurances of God's word, finding strength in His promises. As the scripture reminds us in Deuteronomy chapter 31 verse 6, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them, For the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. No problem, no relational difficulty is beyond God's capacity to heal and restore. Trusting that God is actively using each trial as a means to draw you closer to Him. Chosen individuals are reminded that their true identity and worth are rooted not in earthly relationships but in their relationship with God. In seasons of misunderstanding, chosen ones are encouraged to stay faithful, to keep their eyes fixed on God, knowing that He is ever present and ever faithful. Every step along the chosen path is guided by His hand, a hand that never falters. God's timing is flawless, and though challenges may arise, He continually provides strength, guidance, and wisdom. With every prayer and every act of faith, God moves closer, filling the heart with His love, offering reassurance that no struggle is in vain. When we, as chosen individuals, speak or write, there is a feeling of direct communion with the divine, a sense of God's presence permeating each word and thought. This communion is a sacred conversation, an offering of praise, an expression of faith that transcends human language. There is a joy in knowing that, through every trial, God is present, transforming each hardship into a stepping stone towards spiritual growth and enlightenment. And as we open our hearts, sharing our journey with others, we invite them to join in this sacred space, to experience the depth and beauty of God's love. This journey, while difficult, becomes a transformative process through which God cultivates the chosen one's spirit, enhancing their resilience, refining their patience, and deepening their capacity to love unconditionally. Each moment of friction in a relationship is an opportunity to grow in grace, to exercise faith, and to become a vessel of God's peace in the face of misunderstandings and judgments. The path is challenging, but each trial invites the chosen to embody virtues that resonate with God's own character: patience, forgiveness, compassion, and wisdom. In moments when others may not see your vision or understand your unwavering devotion to God, know that He is at work, orchestrating unseen changes, aligning circumstances, and preparing hearts. It is a reminder that the divine purpose placed within you does not require the validation or comprehension of others to flourish. God's plan is beyond human understanding, and His protection and guidance are always present. He walks with you through every storm, offering you comfort and strength when the world around you seems cold or unwelcoming. In these times, chosen ones are called to cling tightly to God's promises, finding solace and strength in His eternal words. Scripture, like a wellspring, provides comfort in these moments, reminding us that God is ever faithful. Deuteronomy chapter 31 verse 6 resonates deeply. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. This assurance serves as a beacon of hope, a constant reminder that no problem, no heartbreak, no misunderstanding is too significant for God to handle. Trust in His unfailing love and wisdom, knowing that each trial is a means to draw you closer to Him, to teach you reliance on His strength, and to affirm that your identity and worth stem not from earthly relationships but from your sacred connection with the divine. In the face of adversity, chosen ones are reminded to stay faithful, to trust in God's ever-present love and guidance. Each step taken in faith is a step closer to Him, a testament to the strength of their devotion. The journey is one of perseverance and patience, a path where God's timing is revered as perfect. For every season serves a purpose. Though struggles may seem insurmountable, there is a quiet confidence that God, in His infinite wisdom, is using each difficulty to shape and mold the chosen one into a reflection of his love. There exists an extraordinary sense of communion when chosen ones speak, write, or express their faith. In these moments, it feels as though they are speaking directly to God, reaching out in praise, seeking His presence. This communion transcends human conversation, entering this sacred space where God's presence is felt deeply, where words become an offering of faith, gratitude, and love. It is a space of divine connection, an intimate exchange that goes beyond the ordinary, creating a bond between the soul and the divine. Often, C.S. Lewis, a profound thinker and writer, would reflect on the complexities that believers face, particularly in relationships. He recognized that those who walk a path of faith, especially those who commit fully to their spiritual journey, often encounter challenges that lead to feelings of isolation or misunderstanding. For Lewis, the life of a Christian, and especially one who is deeply committed to God's calling, frequently places them at odds with the world, and sometimes even with those they cherish most. This is a consequence of the pursuit of holiness, a path that inherently sets one apart, making it challenging for others to understand or share that journey. In his work Mere Christianity, Lewis poignantly highlights the tension between spiritual devotion and human relationships, emphasizing the burden that believers carry. He writes, "When we Christians behave badly, or fail to behave well, we are making Christianity unbelievable to the outside world." This statement underlines the unique responsibility of chosen ones, as they are called to live as reflections of Christ's love. Even when this devotion leads to strained relationships, faith demands integrity, and this commitment can sometimes lead others to view the chosen with misunderstanding or skepticism, interpreting their faith-driven actions as self-righteous or unnecessary. In such times, believers may wonder why, despite their best efforts, relationships seem to fall apart or drift away. The truth, however, lies in the spiritual weight carried by the chosen, a weight that not everyone around them is prepared to bear. As one becomes increasingly aligned with God's purpose, it may create an unspoken distance from those who do not share that spiritual vision. This divergence is not a rejection of others but a natural separation, an indication that the chosen path is unique and may not be understood or embraced by everyone. As the chosen grow deeper in faith, the dynamics of their relationships often begin to shift. Relationships that once felt comfortable may now feel strained or stretched, as if they are being pushed to their limits. Those around them, even those with whom they have shared years of friendship or love, may start to perceive them as different, distant, or even self-righteous. This perception is not intentional on the part of the chosen, rather, it is a reflection of the profound changes that have taken place within. The spiritual path they now walk is one that others may not be ready or willing to join. And that's okay. Understanding this dynamic requires compassion, both for oneself and for others. As Jesus taught, believers are called not to judge or impose their path on others but to lead by example, allowing their actions to be a reflection of their values. Their love, patience, and humility become the light that draws others closer, rather than a force that alienates. In every relationship, whether with family, friends, or colleagues, chosen ones are encouraged to uphold their standards, to live in a way that honors God without diminishing the worth or choices of others. Proverbs chapter 4 verse 23 offers guidance in this regard. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. This verse reminds chosen ones to protect their spiritual integrity, to remain vigilant in their faith, but to do so with humility and grace. When faced with criticism or judgment, respond with love and compassion, understanding that the path you walk is not about superiority but about a commitment to live in alignment with God's will. This journey, marked by a devotion to purity, integrity, and righteousness, is often misunderstood by those who view it from the outside. Friends, family, and even romantic partners may struggle to understand why the chosen refuse to compromise on certain values. Why they resist gossip, dishonesty, or shortcuts in moral character. To many, this steadfastness may appear as self-righteousness or unnecessary rigidity. However, only the chosen understand the discipline and inner strength required to walk this narrow path. A path that Jesus himself described in Matthew chapter 7 verse 14. For the gate is narrow and the way is hard that leads to life, and those who find it are few. To walk the narrow path is to embrace a life of profound devotion and commitment. A commitment that may often seem isolating and misunderstood by others. This journey is not about dragging others along unwillingly or imposing one's beliefs, but rather about living as a testament to the faith that resides within. Chosen ones are not called to force others to understand or to change. Instead, they are called to live in a way that reflects the love, patience, and grace of God. By allowing their actions and choices to serve as examples, they may draw others closer to God through the quiet strength and beauty of their own spiritual lives. In relationships, whether with family, friends, or colleagues, chosen ones are encouraged to maintain their standards without making others feel lesser or judged. They are to let their integrity, their love, and their kindness shine as a light that invites rather than imposes. Proverbs chapter 4 verse 23 reminds them to guard your heart with all vigilance, for from it flow the springs of life. This wisdom calls for a balance between protecting one's spiritual values and interacting with humility. Criticism may come, misunderstandings may arise, but chosen ones are called to respond with grace, not with an attitude of superiority. This journey often requires a re-evaluation of worldly pleasures. As chosen individuals continue along this sacred path, the allure of worldly distractions, parties, materialism, shallow entertainments, begins to lose its grip. They find themselves naturally turning away from these temporary pleasures, as their spirit seeks something higher, something more enduring. This transformation often creates friction with friends and family, who may look on with confusion, wondering why the chosen one seems so distant from the things they once enjoyed together. In Romans chapter 12 verse 2, the Apostle Paul offers guidance. Do not conform to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. This transformation does not signify rejection of others but a gentle evolution into a life that is less influenced by fleeting worldly pleasures and more focused on spiritual growth. For chosen ones, this shift can create tension, especially when those they love continue to embrace the very pleasures they have grown to see as empty or unfulfilling. This change is not about judgment but a personal calling to rise above and pursue a deeper, more meaningful existence. This discomfort is not easily explained to those who do not share the same calling. The chosen find themselves invited to gatherings and celebrations where the focus is on temporary joys, pleasures that once stirred their soul but now leave them feeling out of place. Their spirit yearns for something more fulfilling, something that resonates with their connection to God. Their friends and family may question this change, wondering why the chosen no longer find satisfaction in things that once brought them happiness. This change may feel isolating, Yet it also serves as an opportunity to respond with grace and wisdom. Instead of judging those who continue to indulge in these pleasures, chosen ones are called to demonstrate a quiet joy in their newfound peace, offering glimpses into the contentment that comes from a life centered on faith. By gently setting boundaries and sharing the joy they have found in their spiritual journey, they invite others to see an alternative way of living, one that offers a profound and lasting sense of fulfillment. Jesus faced similar judgments and criticisms. In Luke chapter 5 verses 29 to 32, when questioned for spending time with tax collectors and sinners, he responded with clarity of purpose, saying, "I have not come to call the righteous but sinners to repentance." He knew his calling, his mission, and he set boundaries that honored this purpose while still showing love and compassion to those around him. In the same way, chosen ones are encouraged to walk their path with intentionality, keeping their focus on their divine purpose without allowing the judgments of others to dissuade them. For those in relationships with partners who do not share their faith, the journey can be especially difficult. A partner who does not understand the chosen one's spiritual devotion may feel confused, distanced, or even opposed. This misalignment can create deep emotional strain, as the chosen one seeks to balance their love for God with their commitment to their partner. The Apostle Paul addresses this tension in 2 Corinthians chapter 6 verse 14. Cautioning, "Do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. For what partnership has righteousness with lawlessness? Or what fellowship has light with darkness?" This guidance is not meant to condemn but to highlight the challenges that arise when two individuals are spiritually misaligned. For chosen ones, their devotion demands a life of integrity, devotion, and sacrifice. A life that a partner who does not share the same faith may not fully understand or support. This misalignment calls for a delicate balance, as chosen ones are encouraged to maintain their spiritual integrity without imposing it upon their partners. The goal is not to change their partner, but rather to remain steadfast in their own journey, embodying love and humility. Jesus exemplified this approach in his interactions, always extending love without compromising his mission. By holding true to their spiritual values, chosen ones become a quiet testament of faith, offering their partners a gentle invitation to understand the beauty of a life devoted to God. Yet, if a relationship becomes a stumbling block to their faith, they must prayerfully consider whether it aligns with God's will for them. Understanding that sometimes love requires letting go to allow both individuals to flourish on their respective paths. As the chosen one deepens their relationship with God, they may outgrow connections that once felt close and fulfilling. Conversations, shared interests, and even foundational relationships may no longer nourish them as they once did. This evolution is often painful, as the chosen feel a quiet distance growing between them and those they once held close. Amos chapter 3 verse 3 asks, "Do two walk together unless they have agreed to meet?" This question invites reflection, a reminder that not everyone will accompany them on every step of their journey. This does not mean abandoning or belittling those who are not on the same path. Rather, it calls for patience and understanding, a recognition that each person's spiritual journey is unique and unfolds in God's timing. Just because someone is not where the chosen one is now does not mean they will never be. Chosen ones are encouraged to extend grace, to continue loving others even as they walk a separate path. Their role is not to judge or distance themselves but to hold space for others, understanding that everyone grows at their own pace. Hebrews chapter 12 verse 1 offers wisdom in these times, urging believers to Throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles. And let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. This call to perseverance reminds chosen ones that while they are to love and support others, they must also remain committed to their own spiritual growth. There will be times when relationships naturally drift, when paths diverge, and chosen ones are called to trust that God is leading them toward those who will uplift and strengthen their faith. One of the greatest challenges for chosen individuals lies in the constant expectation of service. Because of their spiritual calling, others may see them as a source of strength, wisdom, and support. While this is a testament to the influence of their faith, it can lead to relationships that are one-sided, where the chosen one is always giving, always pouring out, with little in return. Over time, this dynamic can leave them feeling drained, depleted, and in need of renewal. Even Jesus, the ultimate servant, recognized the need for solitude and time with God. In Mark chapter 1 verse 35, it is written, "Very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, and went off to a solitary place, where he prayed." If Jesus, in all his strength and divinity, needed time alone to connect with the Father, then surely chosen ones do as well. Taking time for personal renewal is not selfish, it is necessary to sustain their calling. Setting boundaries is an essential part of this journey, allowing chosen ones to communicate their needs with love, letting those around them know that while they are called to serve, they also need time to be replenished. Healthy relationships are mutual, with love and support flowing in both directions. Those who value the chosen one will understand and respect these boundaries, seeing them as a means to nurture and sustain the chosen one's well-being. This necessity for solitude and renewal is particularly important because, as chosen individuals, one often carries an intrinsic sense of spiritual sensitivity. The chosen are not only attuned to their own growth and struggles but are also deeply aware of the emotional and spiritual energies of those around them. This heightened sensitivity, while a blessing, can also make relationships complex. While others may brush off unhealthy behaviors, the chosen feel a sense of responsibility and weight for the choices and energies that surround them. This sensitivity is not only a gift but also a call to action, a nudge from God to approach these situations with compassion and humility. In 1 Corinthians chapter 15 verse 33, believers are reminded, "Do not be deceived. Bad company corrupts good morals." Yet this does not mean distancing oneself out of judgment. Rather, it is about protecting one's spiritual health while striving to uplift and restore others in a way that reflects God's love. Galatians chapter 6 verse 1 offers further guidance. Brothers and sisters, if someone is caught in a sin, you who live by the Spirit should restore that person gently. Restoration, as opposed to judgment, is at the heart of God's call for His chosen. In this light, chosen ones are encouraged to speak truth, yet always with love, and to correct others gently and humbly. Jesus exemplified this perfectly. He was often surrounded by those society deemed sinners. Yet he always approached them with compassion and grace. Never condemnation. The chosen are called to follow his example, to become agents of change and love, allowing their sensitivity to be a tool for guiding others closer to God, rather than a reason to distance themselves. While this sensitivity may at times urge the chosen to retreat when confronted with behaviors that conflict with their values, they are reminded to lean into prayer and intercession, rather than allowing this sensitivity to create walls. Chosen individuals can use it as a way to engage in deeper spiritual work, to intercede for those around them, and to be a source of light in moments of darkness. They are called to trust that God can use their sensitivity to inspire transformation in others, creating a bridge rather than a barrier. A significant challenge for chosen individuals in relationships is the misalignment of purpose that may arise as they step more fully into their calling. As they embrace their divine purpose, they may find that their vision, goals, and spiritual direction no longer align with those they once held close. This misalignment is often a painful realization, as it touches upon the fundamental connections that make relationships feel meaningful and grounded. Amos chapter 3 verse 3 poignantly asks, "Can two walk together unless they have agreed to meet?" This question reminds the chosen that some relationships are seasonal, meant to serve a purpose for a time but not necessarily designed to last a lifetime. As chosen ones deepen their relationship with God and step into a life of obedience and spiritual focus, they may find that some relationships begin to crumble under the weight of misalignment. The purpose God has placed within them may pull them in one direction, while the desires or ambitions of others pull them in another. This divergence is not about right or wrong, but about honoring the path God has uniquely prepared for each individual. It is a natural part of spiritual growth, and it is often necessary for the chosen to let go of relationships that no longer support their calling. It can be painful to accept that some relationships are not meant to endure, especially when they involve people we deeply care about. Yet, chosen individuals are reminded that their loyalty must be to God's calling first, not to the expectations or validations of others. In John chapter 15 verse 19, Jesus reminds his followers, "If you belong to the world, it would love you as its own. But as it is, you do not belong to the world, but I have chosen you out of the world. That is why the world hates you." This separation applies not only to the larger world but also to the intimate relationships that may no longer align with the chosen one's purpose. Trusting in God's guidance, chosen ones understand that they are not called to conform to the expectations of others but to remain true to the divine vision placed within their hearts. Relationships that are no longer aligned with God's purpose may naturally fall away. And this is not a sign of failure but a necessary step in fulfilling God's will. In letting go, chosen individuals make room for relationships that support and encourage their spiritual growth. Relationships that walk in harmony with the path God has set before them. However, it's essential for the chosen to maintain an open heart for reconciliation. While some relationships may fall away due to misalignment, God may, in His wisdom, restore certain connections when the time is right. The story of Paul and Barnabas in Acts chapter 15 verse 39 illustrates this principle. Though they were powerful partners in ministry, a disagreement led them to part ways. However, both continued their work for God's kingdom, and their separation ultimately served to spread the gospel further. In the same way, chosen ones may find that, even if a relationship drifts apart, it may be restored in God's perfect timing, allowing both individuals to come together with renewed purpose and shared vision. Throughout this journey, chosen ones are called to release relationships not out of resentment or anger, but out of love and faith in God's plan. By letting go, they entrust these relationships to God, believing that He will guide them toward the connections that are truly meant to accompany them on their spiritual path. Trusting in His wisdom, they find peace in knowing that God's timing and plan for each relationship are perfect, even when it requires letting go of people they cherish. The chosen path is also a path of continual transformation, a journey of growth that often disrupts the comfort zones of others. As chosen individuals grow spiritually, their priorities, values, and ways of interacting with the world begin to shift, and this change can feel unsettling to those still attached to the old version of them. Family members, friends, or romantic partners may say, "You're not the same person anymore." And indeed, they are correct. The chosen have been renewed, transformed by God's love and purpose, becoming a new creation in spirit and in life. Romans chapter 12 verse 2 provides a profound insight into this transformation. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. This renewal is evident not only within the chosen but also in the dynamics of their relationships. Those around them may struggle to accept this change, clinging to the familiar version of the chosen, the one they knew and understood. But as chosen ones embrace their purpose, they can no longer conform to the expectations of others or live according to worldly standards. This growth often disrupts the dynamics of relationships, as chosen ones are no longer content with mediocrity or worldly distractions. They find themselves less entertained by gossip, less driven by material pursuits, and more focused on a higher purpose. This transformation becomes a mirror for those around them, reflecting the inner conflict of complacency versus growth. Rather than celebrating the chosen's evolution, some may resist, as it challenges their comfort zones, forcing them to confront their own choices and beliefs. In these moments, chosen ones are reminded that this resistance is not their burden to carry. They are called to continue their journey, regardless of who chooses to stay behind. Jesus experienced similar resistance in his hometown of Nazareth, where those who knew him as a child struggled to accept his role as the Messiah. In Mark chapter 6 verse 4, he reflects, "A prophet is not without honor except in his own town, among his relatives and in his own home." Despite the resistance, Jesus continued his mission, showing that chosen ones, too, must remain steadfast, walking in love but not allowing others' reluctance to hinder their growth. The chosen are encouraged to be gentle and patient, for change is difficult for those who have not yet experienced it. They are to extend compassion and understanding, knowing that their transformation is part of God's work, not something they should shrink from. Just as Jesus continued his journey despite the skepticism of those in Nazareth, chosen ones are called to embrace their transformation, trusting that God is leading them toward greater purpose and fulfillment. Finally, there will be seasons where God calls chosen ones into divine separation, a period where they may feel led to step back from certain relationships or environments. This separation is not punishment, rather, it is a sacred time of preparation, a period where God works intimately within their hearts, cultivating strength, clarity, and deeper faith. Sometimes, this divine separation requires stepping away from people who, though loved deeply, may not be equipped to support the chosen's next chapter. His divine separation, though often accompanied by a sense of loneliness, is a season of growth and transformation that God intentionally creates for the chosen. It is a time to withdraw from the noise of the world, from distractions and influences that may cloud the clarity of God's voice. This separation is a calling to be alone with Him, to focus on His guidance, His strength, and His purpose. In these times, the chosen may find themselves gently pulled away from even their closest relationships, friends, and familiar environments, not as a rejection of these people, but as a divine invitation to focus solely on their relationship with God. This experience is not without struggle, for the natural inclination may be to seek comfort, companionship, and understanding from others. However, God uses these moments to remind the chosen that true solace and guidance come from Him alone. Just as Jesus often withdrew to desolate places to pray and reconnect with the Father. As in Luke chapter 5 verse 16, chosen ones are called to emulate this example, finding strength and renewal in solitude. In these quiet moments, far from the distractions of daily life, the chosen spirit is refreshed, their purpose is clarified, and their connection to God is deepened. Communicating the need for solitude to others can be challenging, as they may not fully understand this sacred calling. Friends and family may feel confused or even hurt by the chosen one's need to step back, interpreting it as neglect or rejection. However, it is essential for the chosen to express that this solitude is not a reflection of their love for others but rather a necessary part of their spiritual growth. Just as a plant requires sunlight and water to thrive, so too do chosen individuals require time alone with God to nurture their souls and fortify their spirits. Solitude, for the chosen, is not selfish, it is sacred. It is a period during which God forges inner strength, preparing them for the next phase of their journey. When they emerge from this season, they are not only stronger and more focused but also better equipped to love and lead those around them. In these moments of isolation, chosen ones come to understand that solitude is a gift from God, a space where they can fully surrender to His will, allowing Him to shape and guide their lives in ways that will ultimately benefit their relationships. Chosen individuals are often spiritually sensitive beings, attuned not only to their own spiritual path but also to the energy, actions, and struggles of those around them. This sensitivity can make relationships complex, as the chosen feel the weight of the moral and spiritual choices made by those close to them. They may grieve deeply when witnessing harmful behaviors, not out of judgment, but out of a profound awareness of how such actions can impact a person's soul. This heightened sensitivity can lead to an internal struggle, as chosen ones grapple with how to respond to the sin they see around them without coming across as self-righteous or judgmental. 1 Corinthians chapter 15 verse 33 advises, "Do not be deceived, bad company corrupts good morals," underscoring the importance of discernment in relationships. This does not imply a call to distance oneself from those who struggle, but rather a call to approach such situations with humility, understanding that all are susceptible to temptation. Galatians chapter 6 verse 1 further reinforces this approach. Brothers and sisters, if someone is caught in a sin, you who live by the Spirit should restore that person gently. Restoration is the chosen one's mission, not judgment, not condemnation, but gentle guidance. Chosen individuals are called to be agents of restoration, extending love and truth in a way that uplifts rather than alienates. Jesus exemplified this beautifully, as He surrounded Himself with those whom society deemed sinners, yet always approached them with compassion. He corrected, yes, but with grace and understanding, allowing His love to draw them closer to repentance. Chosen ones are encouraged to follow this example, using their sensitivity as a means to guide others with empathy, rather than allowing it to create barriers. When the behaviors of those around them clash with their values, chosen ones may feel an impulse to withdraw, to distance themselves from the discomfort that such dissonance brings. However, rather than retreating, they are called to lean into the power of prayer and intercession. Rather than allowing their sensitivity to breed isolation, they are encouraged to use it as a channel for prayer, interceding on behalf of those who struggle. By being a light in the darkness, chosen ones trust that God can use their sensitivity to facilitate the transformation of others. making them instruments of His will. One of the most profound challenges faced by chosen individuals is the fundamental misalignment of purpose that can arise as they step into their calling. As they grow spiritually and align themselves with God's vision, they may find that relationships that once felt secure begin to feel misaligned. As their purpose unfolds, they realize that not everyone in their lives shares the same vision or calling. This misalignment, though painful, is often a necessary part of the chosen's journey. A recognition that some relationships are seasonal, designed to serve a purpose for a time but not intended to last a lifetime. In Amos chapter 3 verse 3, the prophet asks, "Can two walk together unless they have agreed to meet?" This question is a reminder that spiritual alignment is essential for a shared journey. For chosen ones, there may come a time when they feel called to walk a different path, even if it means leaving behind people they deeply care for. This does not mean they abandon or judge those who are not at the same stage of their spiritual journey. Rather, it means they honor the unique timing and purpose that God has set for them, recognizing that not everyone will be called to walk alongside them. This misalignment of purpose may lead to the natural drifting apart of certain relationships. As chosen ones grow closer to God and commit to their divine calling, they may find that the relationships that once nourished them no longer feel fulfilling or aligned. This shift is not a sign of failure, nor is it something to grieve, but rather a reflection of God's plan unfolding in their lives. Hebrews chapter 12 verse 1 advises believers to throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. This encouragement is a reminder that chosen ones are called to move forward, to pursue God's purpose with resilience, even when it means letting go of certain connections. For chosen individuals, letting go is an act of trust, a surrender to God's wisdom and timing. By releasing relationships that no longer serve God's purpose, they make space for connections that are divinely aligned, for people who will uplift and support them on their spiritual journey. This is not to say that all relationships will be perfect or free of challenges, but rather that God will bring into their lives those who share their vision, those who are prepared to walk alongside them in faith. There may be times when God, in His infinite wisdom, restores relationships after a period of separation, just as the story of Paul and Barnabas in Acts chapter 15 verse 39 illustrates. God can use time apart to prepare both individuals, allowing them to come together again with renewed purpose. Their disagreement led them to part ways, but both continued to spread the gospel, serving God's kingdom in different yet complementary ways. Chosen ones are encouraged to keep an open heart, trusting that if a relationship is meant to be restored, God will orchestrate it in His perfect timing. Throughout this journey, chosen ones are called to let go of relationships with love, not bitterness, entrusting them to God's care. By doing so, they affirm their faith in God's plan, believing that He will guide them toward the connections that truly align with their purpose. This process may be painful, but it is a necessary step in embracing the path God has set forth. The chosen path is one of loyalty to God's calling, not to the expectations of others. As they release these connections, they draw closer to God's will, allowing Him to shape their lives in ways that are both challenging and deeply fulfilling. For chosen ones, growth is an ongoing journey, and as they evolve, they may disrupt the comfort zones of those around them. This transformation, though beautiful, can create discomfort in relationships, as others struggle to reconcile the chosen one's new self with the familiar person they once knew. Family members, friends, and partners may express concern, saying, "You've changed," and in truth, they have. The chosen have been transformed by the renewing of their minds, as Romans chapter 12 verse 2 calls for. And this transformation is evident in every aspect of their lives. This growth often shifts the dynamics of relationships, as the chosen one's priorities, values, and worldview become increasingly centered on God's purpose. They no longer find fulfillment in worldly distractions, nor are they entertained by gossip or material pursuits. This change can be unsettling to those around them, as it acts as a mirror, reflecting their own areas of stagnation or complacency. Rather than celebrating the chosen's growth, some may resist it, as it challenges their comfort zones and invites them to question their own life choices. Chosen ones are reminded that this resistance is not theirs to bear. They are called to continue growing, to embrace their transformation, regardless of who chooses to stay behind. Jesus himself faced similar resistance in his hometown of Nazareth, where those familiar with his past struggled to accept his divine role. In Mark chapter 6 verse 4, Jesus observed, "A prophet is not without honor except in his own town, among his relatives and in his own home." This reminder encourages the chosen to walk their path with confidence, trusting that God is leading them toward a greater purpose. As chosen ones embrace their transformation, they are encouraged to walk with patience, extending compassion toward those who may not yet understand their journey. This transformation is a gift from God, a renewal of spirit that aligns them more closely with His will. Chosen ones are not called to diminish this gift to make others comfortable, but to stand confidently in their faith, allowing God's light to shine through them. By remaining true to their path, they invite others to witness the beauty of a life centered on divine purpose. There are seasons in a chosen one's life when God calls them into deeper periods of divine separation, pulling them away from certain relationships and environments to prepare them for a higher calling. This separation, though painful, is not a rejection of others but rather a necessary part of spiritual preparation. It is a time of pruning, a phase where God removes any influences or connections that may hinder the chosen from reaching their full potential. In these seasons, chosen ones may feel called to withdraw from even their closest relationships to focus solely on their walk with God. The story of Abram in Genesis chapter 12 illustrates the significance of this divine separation. When God called Abram, He instructed him to leave his country, his people, and his father's household and to go to the land He would show him. Abram had to let go of everything familiar, stepping away from his family and his homeland to embrace God's promise. It was only after Abram parted from Lot that God revealed the fullness of His covenant. As Genesis chapter 13 verses 14 to 15 recounts, the Lord said to Abram after Lot had parted from him, "Look around from where you are, to the north and south, to the east and west. All the land that you see I will give to you and your offspring forever." This example serves as a reminder that sometimes divine blessings and revelations are contingent upon letting go of attachments that no longer serve God's purpose. There may be people in a chosen one's life who, despite their best intentions, cannot see the vision that God has given because it was not meant for them. As long as the chosen remain attached to relationships that limit their growth, they delay the manifestation of what God has in store. It is not that these people are inherently negative influences, but they may lack the spiritual capacity to journey alongside the chosen into new realms of faith. The chosen path requires a willingness to trust in God's wisdom, to surrender relationships that no longer align with His purpose. Letting go of these connections is not an easy task, as it often involves those we hold dear. However, chosen ones are reminded that God's plans are higher than ours, and His timing is perfect. By releasing these relationships, they allow God to bring new connections into their lives that will uplift and encourage them in their calling. In times of divine separation, chosen ones may feel called to enter a season of solitude, embracing the quiet as an opportunity to deepen their connection with God. This solitude is not a rejection of others but a sacred invitation from God to be alone with Him. To seek His guidance and strength, Jesus Himself often withdrew from the crowds, retreating to solitary places to pray and reconnect with the Father. As seen in Luke chapter 5 verse 16, for the chosen, solitude becomes a place of spiritual renewal, a time to refocus on God's voice and prepare for the next phase of their journey. This season of solitude may lead others to feel neglected or pushed aside. But it is essential for the chosen to communicate that this time is not about them. It is a period of deep spiritual work, a time to grow closer to God. By explaining the importance of this solitude, chosen ones help their loved ones understand that this temporary separation is a necessary step in becoming the best version of themselves. Solitude is not selfish, it is sacred, and it allows the chosen to emerge stronger, more focused, and better equipped to serve those around them. At the heart of this journey lies a sense of spiritual sensitivity. Chosen individuals often feel deeply connected to the energy and actions of those around them, sensing the impact of moral and spiritual choices on their own well-being. This sensitivity is both a blessing and a challenge, as it can make relationships complicated. In 1 Corinthians chapter 15 verse 33, believers are cautioned, do not be deceived. Bad company corrupts good morals. This awareness calls for discernment, encouraging chosen ones to surround themselves with those who uplift their spirit rather than compromise their values. Yet, God calls His chosen not to judge or distance themselves from those who falter but to approach these situations with compassion. Galatians chapter 6 verse 1 reminds them, if someone is caught in a sin, you who live by the Spirit should restore that person gently. This restoration is not about correction for its own sake but about showing God's love and mercy, inviting others to experience transformation through grace. Chosen ones are called to be gentle restorers, using their sensitivity not as a reason to withdraw but as a tool to uplift. Jesus exemplified this beautifully, as He dined with tax collectors and sinners, extending compassion without compromising His purpose. His presence was a source of transformation, a light that gently guided others toward repentance. The chosen are encouraged to follow His example, to use their sensitivity as a means of intercession and love rather than isolation. The spiritual path also involves the recognition that some relationships are simply not aligned with the chosen one's divine purpose. As they walk more closely with God, they may find that their interests, values, and pursuits shift, leading them away from certain friendships or partnerships. This is not a reflection of the other person's worth but an acknowledgement of the chosen one's unique calling. Amos chapter 3 verse 3 asks, can two walk together unless they have agreed to meet? This verse highlights the importance of spiritual alignment in relationships, as chosen ones are encouraged to walk with those who share their vision. This misalignment may lead to the natural separation of certain relationships. As the chosen focus on their spiritual growth, they may find that some connections no longer nourish them. This realization is not one of failure but of God's timing, a sign that He is preparing them for new relationships that align with His purpose. Hebrews chapter 12 verse 1 encourages believers to Throw off everything that hinders, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. This perseverance calls for discernment, a willingness to let go of relationships that no longer serve the path God has set. Through this journey, chosen ones are reminded that their loyalty is first to God's calling, not to the expectations or validation of others. As they release connections that no longer align, they make space for relationships that will support and uplift them. God, in His wisdom, brings people into their lives who understand their purpose and are prepared to walk alongside them. Even when relationships drift apart, there remains the possibility of divine restoration. Just as Paul and Barnabas parted ways in Acts chapter 15 verse 39. God sometimes allows separations for a greater purpose. These moments of separation may ultimately lead to new opportunities for growth, both for the chosen one and for those who may one day reconnect with them. The journey of the chosen is one of growth, resilience, and continual surrender to God's will. This path is not always easy. It requires courage, patience, and faith. Yet, for those who walk it, there is an assurance that every trial, every relationship, and every moment of solitude is part of a divine plan. God is with them in each step, guiding them toward a purpose that is greater than they could imagine. The chosen path is a journey toward wholeness, toward becoming a reflection of God's love and light in a world that often resists transformation. Through every relationship, every challenge, and every season of separation, chosen ones grow closer to God's vision for their lives. They learn to trust in His timing, to find strength in His promises, and to embrace the journey with a heart full of gratitude and faith. God's purpose is always unfolding, even in moments of pain or solitude, and as chosen ones persevere, they discover that each step brings them closer to the fulfillment of their divine calling. With this understanding, chosen individuals can walk forward with confidence, knowing that God's love sustains them through every trial. They are never truly alone, for God is with them, guiding and protecting, shaping them into vessels of His peace and compassion. By trusting in His wisdom, they find the courage to release, to grow, and to embrace the sacred journey set before them.